Hey, hey, welcome to the stream. Okay. 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 That's good enough for me to do. Come on. Okay. So imagine that we have a suspension. Let's first see how it scales up. Okay. Yeah. It's a little bit narrower than it. Not that it should be, but that a little bit narrower that it has to be, which is fine. Which is fine. Since the body is gonna be this half a stud wider, good. Well, this is for the Audi Quattro that we are building. So now there has been a theory, and I think it was. Let me look it up. It was Hegedus. Arpad. He proposed a theory, that we would have a torque, a torque that would be, big enough that it would lift a wheel or something. Let's put this theory to the test. I have a drill. It has a lot more torque than any Lego RC motor is gonna have. So, see, right now we don't have any springs attached. So all these two can, move freely up and down. There's nothing holding them in place. And of course, we are going to now apply some torque. And imagine that. There's no torque. There's no torque lifting one of the wheels up. Who would have thought? Certainly not me. So, I have to call this theory bullshit. I will also put some tires on this, and we can see if when there's friction on the ground, if we get some torque. I'm gonna use different tires. I'm gonna use these tires because I don't think I have proper wheels for these. Doesn't matter, as long as there's some friction. can hear, of course, now that we have some torque. Okay, there was some skipping. Where is it skipping? Oh, okay. Of course, it's not finished, so there's some bracing is needed for all of the gears, and now we're basically fighting the losing battle of me not holding this perfectly aligned, and the gear here can skip, of course. Yeah, of course, the gear is slipping out again. Yeah. So basically the problem here is obviously that we need to brace the gears so that they won't be able to move out. This will also mean that the differential gears stay attached. Yeah. What do you mean only the left wheel spins? Doesn't matter. The friction here is not the same. I can show you the same with a Sierra, where only one wheel can spin. I had this before. When there's no weight on this, there's no weight on this at all. There's no springs. So any very small differences in traction will allow only one wheel, the wheel that has a tiny bit of more of traction here on this very smooth desk will have will grip, and the other will spin. So that's irrelevant. The second we have weight and springs attached to this, this is completely irrelevant. So now that this is out of the way and we don't have to worry about some great momentum or torque lifting our wheels up, we can move on. To me, this torque debate is dead. And I'm not gonna waste any more time on this. However, we need to now address a few other things. So first of all, of course, the thing that we started last time, springs, the suspension of the upper wishbones, and of course the steering rack here. So, and of course bracing of the gears, very important. So here in the rear we have a few challenges. So we want a steering rack, but at the same time those gears need to be braced so that they don't, get pulled out, especially the gear in the differential. This is held on only by those by half a stud, by being inserted half a stud in one of those gears. So it doesn't hold in very well, and if we don't hold these two in on both sides, they are going to constantly being pulled out, and we are gonna get skipping. The skipping that you heard was partially this gear that was basically losing contact with the big gear because it was not sitting here. It was not braced properly. But that's manageable. That's no problem. But here in the rear, since we have more space constraints, the situation is a little bit different, because you see the ideal position of the steering rack is exactly where the position for the bracing for these guys would be, which is not ideal, I must say. So this guy here is not a problem. Bracing this, no big deal. Bracing this might be trickier because I have a feeling that it's gonna be the movement of the steering rack is gonna be more than one stud. So if it would be just one stud, we would not have a problem bracing this. But it's probably by the, yeah, it's gonna be, see, the maximum steering lock is gonna be, it's gonna be 2 studs. Come on, hands, please. Okay, see, it's gonna be right where we want the bracing to be. So that's not ideal. I'm just reading what Ben wrote to me, but you know, Ben, you have to include more text with this because I cannot stream and read the conversation we had. So what do we do here? This is interesting. One option would be that we move the steering rack one stud further to the back. Maybe we should. This would give us more momentum. Just a second. Okay. This would give us even more momentum, but I think you know, more a bigger arm for steering, so the steering rack would have an easier time. But I think it's big enough. It's big enough already. And of course, you see here that we need to do something here with the rack, and the steering rack is too high. I'm saying too high, you know, we wanted to have it as high as possible, but I wanted it to have as high as possible to avoid the gearbox. But since the gearbox is actually here, you know what? Now that I'm thinking, the easiest part would be if we had the steering rack as low as possible. That way we can brace this without problem. So the steering rack is not gonna interfere with the bracing of this. And this guy here is probably gonna be braced. Yeah, the steering rack is gonna flow between the brace for this and the brace for this. It's gonna be that simple, I think. So we have a 2 stud window for the steering rack here. The steering rack itself can be further back, but the attachment points, you see, for the arms are gonna be here. So we're gonna have the arms 2 studs lower, and here we're gonna have one. No, actually wait, am I stupid? Yeah, 2 studs lower here and 1 stud lower here. So when we move this 1 stud lower, then we can apply a brace for this without problem. And these two can then slide under the brace and above the brace for this, I think. Let me no, actually. What does this guy even need bracing? That's my question. Do we need to brace this? I mean, it's not gonna fly out because we have stuff here, and the steering rack is gonna prevent this from going in this direction. The movement up and down here, I think it's not a problem, but this, of course, this guy here, of course, is very weak. You see, this is very weak. This isn't. This is very weak, and of course, it's gonna fly out at any moment. Yeah. So the steering rack is probably gonna slide here, which is a little a bummer because I would prefer it for it to be here, so it can slide in and out through those. That would be ideal, most ideal. But we can we? Yes, we can. We can have everything. We can have it all. Of course. By basically by placing those 90, we move the 90 degrees, and they attach here with a with this guy, I guess, or even better, we use this guy here somehow. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe that would be ideal, most ideal, if we can use this here. So it will be as stiff as possible. But then it couldn't be as low as I would like. Damn it. That would be most ideal. But it doesn't fit. Shame. What a shame. Okay. I guess then it's gonna have to be, you know, something like this. Placed like this. And that's gonna be our the attachment for the steering link. It has to be what did we say? It has to be 2 studs lower, I think. This has to be 1 stud lower, and this has to be 2 studs lower, roughly. So it has to be exactly here. Let me just think of how we're gonna attach this. What are the options here? Okay, yeah, that's how we're gonna do it. Overkill, of course, but this has to be pretty stiff. It doesn't lift up. That's the problem. But you know, that debate is over, so we're not even debating it. Maybe in a simulation you could find that there's a very slight force acting on the up trajectory, but the moment you attach springs, this force is irrelevant, completely irrelevant. It is not gonna affect anything. For fuck's sake, the pin has slipped on the bottom of bushings. Oh god, I hate this. I hate when this happens. this here. Let's modify this part here. Okay. 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 Let's see what we end up with. See, now we are going to do it like this. I don't know if this is gonna work. Maybe the the angle is not gonna be enough, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Now what? Oh yeah, of course. Force that here. Okay. Force that here. Come on. What? Okay. There. And there. Okay. Now this guy here. Okay. Okay. So now this is okay. This is making contact here. Okay. Right. Okay. Let's do this the same to the other side. Okay. Now let's see what we can do here. So, we need. Okay, we need something better to put this on. But first, before we do this, let's test our theory. So, steering rack side. Let's see. how wrong was I? Okay. Steering needs a little alignment, of course, but I'm more interested in this. Okay. And of course, at the end of the day, when we do the steering rack, we are going to test how this behaves. Of course, if if we have enough steering lock, and what do the CV joints say at the end. Okay, what's wrong with this guy here? Why is this slipping out? Is this broken? This is not good. There's not enough friction here. Let's see. Is there more friction here? Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Come on. Okay. So let's see what the bump steer says. Well, that's fine. It's not too bad. It's 1, 2, 4. Ah, okay. Yeah, my bad as well. Because I'm pressing. I'm an imbecile. Yeah. Okay. So one problem that we have here with the position that we have here now, you can see that these here are, of course, making contact with this. So ideally, those here would be one stud higher, or these here would be lower. Neither of those options is good from my perspective. Neither of those options is good. So what we must do here is we are probably gonna have to move the steering rack to this position, so that the steering rack is in this height. At this height, it has enough room to swing up and down, and it clears the bracing point for the gear. So in the end, it's gonna have to be where we actually wanted it in the first place. Yeah. And we must not forget that the gearing for the steering rack, since it's behind the steering axis, has to be above the steering rack. So the gear, whatever gear we use to steer, has to be like this, so above the steering rack. If it was in front, then it would have to be in below. That's what we have to keep in mind. So yeah. Nothing. I mean, we have to move it up. There's no way to sugarcoat it here. We have to move it up. So it has to be up by 1, 2, 3, 4 studs. So it has to be 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it has to be basically okay, basically where we had it in the first place. Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna change this a little bit. Of course, I'm just playing with geometry right now, because this here needs, of course, replacing. We need to do something better with it. But right now, this is not that important. It's just there. Okay. This I would prefer to be braced a little better. Perhaps here. It's something. You know, just so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, that's better. That's better. Okay, but here I have to be more creative because of the gear. I can't use the same method here. Bummer. So I'm basically gonna use this here for now. Come on. Oh, okay. This isn't gonna be very good, I think. Well, better than expected. Okay. You know, just so that they don't move too much. Okay. Let's take this apart again. What did we say? Okay, this is not ideal, but oh, it's absolutely not ideal. What did we say? We need this situation, I think. Let's see. Ah, okay. I knew there was a catch. Can't be that simple. Why did nobody warn me? Oh, bend it. Okay. Yeah, I just didn't read it. Sorry. Oh. Damn it. Okay, so basically, now we need to busy ourselves with the attachment for this first, because this here sucks, and we probably should, utilize those two to basically make this mount better at the same time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna over engineer a bracket here, basically. Okay. So it has to be. Okay. No, this is not gonna fly. Wait. What if we use this here? Yeah, this, and I don't think I'm happy with this. I don't think I'm happy with this. Yeah, Ben, I see it. But it's not that simple. I want to, we need to have this at the same time as this. So it would be one bracket that fits on this, and it would cover both. Instances. No, this is not gonna be. So we have to be careful here with how we do this. So we could use this, but not really. We could use something like this here, because we need only. Sorry, you can see what I'm doing. We could use this point here, but I would like this part here to be free, because the steering links are probably gonna swing a little bit past this. So we have to be very careful. Very careful what we do. One single bracket for this. One single bracket for this. Okay. So we need this, of course, to mount the upper arms. Then we can have something like this here, and then here we can have if this is in the middle. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 7. Okay. Let's try it with this. Let's try it with this. This is by no means a final version of anything. It's just right now I want a solution that prevents this from flexing too much, so that I can concentrate on doing the steering. And when we progress, we're gonna change this. Probably, we're gonna probably add something to this, but you know, right now it's replacing this. Okay. I do think that we should or could replace those with a 4 stud axle instead of the 3 stud, because I think there's enough room here. This is basically, you know, maybe it's to be tested. Maybe, I don't know. Okay. Oh, right. Yeah. So this can actually be higher. Or can it? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think so. It can be higher. So we can use this system that we had before. I'm sorry that I'm jumping back and forth through solutions, but you know, this this I think has the most potential. But we'll see. I'm probably wrong. Let me just change this side, and then we're gonna see. Oh god, this is so stiff. Okay. There. Hey, Mr. Morty. Happy weekend to you too. Okay. I'm gonna put the rims back on because we're gonna best see how the steering angles look like. Okay. So. Okay, that's pretty much as high as we're gonna go. But I can already see that we are at my favorite measurement. Again, yeah, half a stud. So these characters here have to be half a stud apart, obviously. But that's not a totally huge deal. It's not the end of the world. Or is it? Because I don't want to have anything on this side of the pin. See? Exactly because these need to drop down a little bit, and then whatever is here is going to prevent this from happening. So we have to find a way to make the half a stud without this. Probably. Yeah, probably something like this. So we have to have 4 studs in between. 4 studs in between. So we have 3, 7. Okay, it's a 7. 7 stud. So it's like this. There. And then the steering rack. Okay. How wrong was I? Okay. That's not good. That's not good. You can see here that the arms are, there is no huge amount of bump steer, which is good. Problem is that we have the steering points too much to the inside. Since this is going to be an all-wheel drive car, the all-wheel drive cars usually have a toe that points out. So we need a very slight toe out, because once the power, once the wheels start turning, in front-wheel drive cars, the wheels tend to straighten out. So in rear-wheel drive cars, it's reversed. So in rear wheel drive cars, you would have a toe in, not as extreme as this, of course, but in front wheel drive or all wheel drive cars, you have a slight toe out. So we need to change something here to have a toe out. I'm going, just for the sake of it, I'm going to place a lift arm here. Come on, a smaller one. This is a, what is this? Yeah, it's a 9er. I'm going to place a lift arm here, because this lift arm here is providing us with, you know, now I can press this up, and we have the height at which the steering rack is going to be. Yeah, and we can see the toe discrepancy. Okay, so now we're gonna try to make the steering rack with half a stud in. So probably it's gonna be too much of toe out, but let's wait and see. Let's see. So let's do the same steering rack here. I'm gonna leave this as is, and I'm gonna do another one that's gonna be half a stud in, just for the sake of it. Since this is in, it can be simpler, I guess. No, it's gonna be like that. So this, I'm trying to make them as similar as possible so that we can compare. Yeah. It's gonna be, yeah, like this. There. I think that's the easiest version. Okay, and now I just swap those over, and we reinsert it. Let's see. Yeah, I sphered. Now we have too much toe out. Who would have thought? The good part is, I think, yeah, there's not really a bump steering is minimal to non-existent. I have no idea why, but it's very, very, very it's basically unnoticeable to the naked eye. So we need to solve this conundrum. I hate this. Now, in a real car, you would have just track rods that you would, you would basically have a thread here. You would thread it out and it would be aligned, but we don't have that luxury. So yeah, what to do here? That's the question. One option would be to use the toe in rack, and then we could make this part here half a stud shorter. Yeah, that would be one option. So now we are basically, when we are swapping between the rack with between the rack we have installed now or the rack that is half a stud wider, we get either too much toe in or too much toe out. So the ideal version is somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I mean, we need to see if half a stud is gonna help here. So let's see. So let's see if the half stud modification that we are gonna do here is gonna be of any help. Disregard the fact that it's longer than needed. That's not important right now. If anything, it helps us see if there's a discrepancy. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Now, of course, now we need to fit the other steering rack. Okay. Now we need this steering rack here. Yeah. Now we have our new nemesis, a quarter stud. Oh yeah. Okay. So it's still too much. Okay. What about if we go a full stud in? Okay. Now this is again too much toe in. Again, too much toe in. much toe in. Wow, okay, so this doesn't make a lot of I mean, I thought that would make some difference if we would slide this. I mean, I can now use the sliding thing here because we can. So it's some adjustment, you know, just so we can test it. So even when I'm aligning this perfectly, we have some toe in. And if we put in the other steering rack, we have toe out. Let's try it with the other steering rack and let's play with this length here. Let's see what we get. So this should give us toe out. Let's see what an effect these settings have on the toe out. So that's obviously a huge amount of toe out. This is about a stud. Yeah. And then this, when I add one stud, decreases. But it's still too much. Still too much toe out. What about if I increase this just a little bit? Still, it would have to increase. It would have to increase color a lot. Now we have, of course, the problem that this binds. Come on. Okay. Wow, I mean, okay. I was not prepared for that. I was thinking, okay, there's gonna be some setting here that it's gonna allow us to, you know, I mean, this is great for Ackerman, of course, the toe out. This is okay for Ackerman. And I'm actually surprised by the steering angles. They are pretty acceptable. I mean, yeah, pretty acceptable. Okay. At this point here, this is still turning very freely, which is very good. Okay. But yeah, that sucks. I mean, obviously we can lower the steering rack. Doesn't change a lot. But we can't, because you see right now, this is the perfect position where this guy here can be braced. There's no interference from the steering rack, and the steering rack is gonna basically ride on the support for this. Damn. Let me think for a second. It can't be in the front, because in the front we don't want any steering because there's going to be the engine and the gearbox. So the rear of the car, the rear suspension is not going to have a steering rack, of course. So this is a moot point there. It's going to be different there. And we can, we're going to want to have a bump steer there. So we're going to place this as low as possible. And, that's going to be different there. But since this is the front suspension here, we have to be a little more picky. What to do? Now, one obvious way how to solve this would, of course, be that these two would be angled backward. So that we would extend this as much as possible. These would be angled backward, and that would be correct this. But they can't. They can't be angled backward in this position because there's gonna be the steering rack here, and the steering rack is gonna be in the way, and the steering rack has to be here. Otherwise, this isn't gonna work. Only way this is gonna work, or would work, is if we somehow managed to not have this here. In this case, we could have the entire steering rack one stud forward. But this, yeah, one stud forward. This part of the rack would stay here where it is. So this here would be one stud forward, and then these two would be angled backward. And in combination with this here, this would then give us what we want. Okay. So how do we move or remove this part of the support structure here? There are ways. There are certainly ways which we are going to implement right now. You need to go. Okay. And you two have to go for a second. So, obviously, some changes will have to be made. Temporary, of course. Wow. Sadly, of course, I said this before, sadly we don't have these with an axle hole. That would be great. If Lego is listening, please part switch those. So I want these with axle holes, and I want these with axle holes. That would be great. Thanks. Where did the pushing? Ah, there it is. By no means is this something that's going to be a thing here, but we have to do something right now. Hey, thanks, Power Nap. Uh, suck. What do we do now? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I had these here. Yeah. Had this here. Okay. There was one more somewhere here. But before I find it, I'm just gonna take another one. There. And then we're gonna use, of course, this here. That's gonna be perfectly fine for this instance. What? Okay. Okay. So, perfect. We don't have this. We retained our mounting points, and we can now experiment with the steering rack being in this position here. And we had this one, of course. So we have to redesign it a little bit. Luckily, the redesign is very simple. Okay. And there. Hey, Moss. So, all right. Why is there no change? Or am I stupid? As far back as possible. Okay. Well, at this point, we are going back to our to the steering rack, which had 6 studs here between. Let's see if now we have more luck with this, because we have more room to play with the alignment here. Okay, so 6 studs. It's gonna be slightly more complicated than this. Not much. Okay. Let's try it again. Okay, so we have a winner here. We have a winner. This is actually exactly what we want. Let me place the bushings here so we have an exact measurement. This is exactly what we want. And the position of the links here, because they are pointing backwards, is gonna give us a very nice Ackermann linkage, I think. Okay, so let me check here in real life. Okay, you have to go in. Come on. Oh, come on, work with me here. Really? Okay. Okay. This is, from my perspective here, it's it's almost good. Why I'm saying almost, we have a very slight toe in, but I would like a very slight toe out. So I don't know what we could do here. Probably if I adjusted this a little bit, then we would have it's hard to see. It's not a toe out. No sir. This is very weird. Oh yeah. You see this? You see what's happening here? This is completely unacceptable. Oh my god. Okay. This is, oh lord. Yeah. Look at this. Oh my god. This is next level. So, okay. That's really a joke. Okay. So, we have to get serious. Okay? We have to get serious here. This is not gonna be okay. Obviously, what we have to do here is that the steering links are gonna have to be placed as low as possible. There's There's no other way. They're not gonna be able to be on top where they are, because no matter what alignment we choose, see, no matter what alignment we choose, it's irrelevant when this is allowed to happen. And this is allowed to happen, of course, because of the, well, the camber, caster, everything, and the fact that this guy here has very little leverage on anything here. Yeah, while this looks okay, the problem is that you know, the wheel can do whatever it wants when it's here. So we have to basically have a steering link here. So few studs lower than it is now. Come on. Yeah, and this of course will change things. Of course, maybe the half a stud is not going to be a problem, because geometry, as we go down, geometry changes. But yeah, tricky, very tricky, because we have to brace those. We have to brace those gears. These are quite a priority to be braced. So I think we're gonna brace the gears first. Remove all of this here, and then we're gonna see. So let's do the approach this way. Let's brace the gears, since we have to brace the gears. That's we don't have to, we don't get to choose. Those gears have to be braced, otherwise they're gonna skip. So the drive is gonna be impossible if they skip. And then we are going to ignore these, and we are going to design the position of the steering rack where it has to be. And then we are going to design the rest of this stuff here around the ideal position of the steering rack. Otherwise, we're not gonna see land here. Okay, so let's brace those guys here first. So this has to be longer, and this guy here has to be longer as well. So it has to be a 7 stud. Come on, really. Okay. Some interaction required. Okay. Okay. There. So we need to brace them here. You know, no need to go overboard. All that we have to do is we have to ensure that these don't, this guy here doesn't pop out, because this is what they like to do, and we want to ensure that this doesn't happen. So when this happens, these guys skip, and that's a no-no. What's the geometry here? Is there something simple that I can use? That would, one single lift arm, for example, that would solve the entire problem. Okay, that's a start. That's a boo-boo. That can't be here. But I'm in favor of this part here. This part would be here, but we have to change this here. Yeah, but then this is gonna be a problem if that part is there. And this, if we use lift arms, like the, connectors, we have a problem as well. I would prefer this to be a single part. Of course, we can place it like this, but then potentially we have a problem up here with the steering rack if we decide to do things. And we have no way of bracing this, of course. But okay, let's say that this isn't really a huge problem. Ben, please re-examine your. I don't want anything above here. See, I don't want those two studs here. This has to be the last stud. That's the issue. That's calling it an issue. It's not. It's not. Okay, so we could have something like this. I don't know. Potentially we can have it like this. This would be here. This would be here, and then we could have this here, this here. Yeah, that sounds good. So number three connectors, and this. This basically. Oh wait. Kill me now. There. For now. Not sure if this is gonna be good enough. You know, this can still skip out. Should we test it? Yeah, I mean later, because we need some pressure applied to this. Yeah, here in the front I'm not gonna worry about because this is gonna be covered by the gearbox. But yeah, okay. So I wanted really to see where the bracing would be, and where the bracing is, we cannot have the steering rack. But now we have to think about this here. So I would probably not want to destroy any of this yet and change it completely. I'm just gonna put this in, and we can have a steering steering link, for example. And these here are gonna be perfect pointers for us to see where the toe is going. Okay. Okay. No, just one is enough. So I want basically, I want something underneath it, so it's not completely up and it's not completely down, so that the toe that we are seeing is somewhere in the middle, you know, somewhere in the middle. And here we have already the first problem. So if we have it like this here, see, this has nowhere to go. Here maybe, but it's already stretching. So this guy here has to be a 4-stud, at least, which is extreme, I know, but you know, it's gonna, the thing is that if we have it like this, the longer this arm is, the more the steering rack itself has to move, you know. However, the good part here is that in this position, if I somehow fix this with my hand, in this position, you see, suddenly the movement that I could move this with my hand freely. Here, the steering link has all of the power, so the wheel doesn't move the steering link, so it's gonna be here no matter what. And now let's check what's the angle. Okay, that's not too bad. The steering rack has to move a lot, but of course we can either have the servo do more work, or we can have a bigger gear on the servo. So that's gonna be no real issue, I think. And the more, the longer the rod here, the more leverage we have on it, and the more control we actually have over the steering. So yeah, one downside, of course, is that, of course, the wheel is not gonna cover the link here. But you know, yeah. Ben, I know why there's the issue with the toe, because the higher up we go, the bigger the problem. You see here, as I'm now, I'm basically holding it at, you can see it, but here, you see, I'm basically holding it at a 5-stud difference here, and there's no toe. It's perfect. It's perfectly straight. But the higher we go, the more problematic it becomes, because it's closer to this. And yeah, it's strange, but that's how it is. I have no explanation for this either. Um, well, I do kind of. Thing is that we have to match the angle. The higher up we go, we have to match the angle of these arms. Uh, so this angle. So the way these arms are angled, and this is probably what was the problem. So if we had the perfect toe up here, then we would have a lot of bumps there. But we didn't have bumps there because we matched the angle of those arms. But we had the toe issue. Here, we now are going lower. I think we are gonna be fine. Gonna be fine here. Now let me just find some lift arms, connect the other one. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so these two have to slide over here. See, they are gonna slide over here. And the steering rack is gonna be above them. But the steering rack, of course, cannot be here above them. It has to be one step further back. But that's okay. That's okay, actually. And I'm thinking what we're gonna do here. The steering rack itself is gonna be, as I said, it's gonna be mounted to the firewall. Wait, if this is the case here, where does this need to be? Hold on, just a second. Maybe we get luckier than I thought. No, sadly not. I thought we would be very lucky, but we're not. So actually, this is not gonna fly here, because the steering, it would be perfect, but the steering rack has to be one step further back. So we could have this placed here, then this would be perfect. I would really like the steering rack to go through this. This would be so perfect. It can be only in this position, otherwise it makes contact down with the steering link, but this position would be ideal. This, of course, the fact that we are gonna have the steering rack here frees us up here. Okay, so we have more freedoms here. The question is, do we need them now that we are gonna have this, and we can then make this better. So since the steering rack is gonna flow here, I don't know. I don't have the answers to these questions yet, but we have to think of the mounting position for this. Has to be here. Okay, I'm gonna mock up a mounting position for this. It's available. solution. Wait, what did I... One, two... Oh, yes, okay. I thought of this one. Of course. Okay. Perfect. Yep. Hey Nico, well, you're watching the stream in class. Oh god, okay, that's... I mean, I'm flattered, but you shouldn't. Go attend to the class and then you can always, you know, re-watch it, I guess. So the mounting points for this are gonna have to be different. Definitely, but now we need this to happen. Okay, so the steering rack is gonna be this here. Okay, maybe this was not necessary. Maybe the old solution was okay. Yeah, it was definitely okay. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? Nothing. I'm not thinking. Come on. Not thinking. There. There. And there. Okay, because obviously we are going to have our steering rack like this. Or something, you know. So the steering rack is gonna be here. There, yeah. Okay, so now I have to mock up a retention setup here for it. Just so that I know where it's gonna slide. And we can test it. There. So I can now basically see, I can push it up against this and it's gonna slide here. It's gonna slide here and it's perfect. Who would have thought? The geometry is perfect. Holy shit. This is great. This is great. What about bump steer? I mean, there's probably some, but I cannot see it. There's probably some bump steer, but I cannot see it. The movement is perfect. We have, as far as I can see from the top here, we have a very slight toe out, which is exactly what we want. And the position of the steering rack, here where it is absolutely perfect. Now let's test, you see, It's perfect. It slides everywhere. It has room for everything. Um, about this suspension geometry, still we need to check and maybe change some stuff. But this, in terms of geometry, this is okay. And let's check the problem with the steering that we had before. So what if I now try to move this? See, now I can't do the same as before. Before, I could basically steer in without the steering rack even moving. Now I can't. And this is exactly what we want. Exactly what we want. So now the last thing that we're going to do today is I'm going to fix the steering rack, no, not in position, but make a system where it it won't fall out like this, so that I can we can test the steering angles. We can test the steering angles. Okay, that's not good. That's not good. The question is only, yeah, there's, that's not good. Okay, first, so things are not as perfect as they seem. So first thing is, see, the suspension arm here is pulling this up because it's making contact with this. So there's that. So this would have to be theoretically one stud lower, but it can't. So we cannot have it here. Basically, what we have to do is we have to have the whole steering one stud higher. So it has to move one stud up. And that's what we're gonna do right now. This is probably gonna be beneficial. Most likely. Hey Marco, good evening. Okay, now we are at the same level as before. Come on, work with me here. And there. Okay, so we are sliding here. Okay. Are we still okay? We are still very much okay. Yeah, we are still very much okay. But of course, thing is that when the suspension is here, we are limiting how far it can turn. Now, is this good or not? This is good. So here, the angle at which we can turn gets limited, and when we are at the same height, it's okay. But the moment we steer in a little bit more, we start getting binding here on the CV joint. So that's actually the maximum range where the steering can turn without binding, which is good. So it's a non-problem, basically. It's a non-issue, which is very good. Okay. Now I want this here to be slidable so that we can test a few things. I'm gonna take the drill, and then we are gonna well, basically we are going to move things around a little bit and see how they behave. Okay. I know what I'm gonna do. I know exactly what I'm gonna do. So here we need the following setup. This. No, not today. No springs today. The springs are gonna be tomorrow. Tomorrow in the next stream. Today, I'm gonna be satisfied with geometry. This has to go in first. Okay, we have a slider. Sort of, you know. It's sort of a slider. And what we're gonna do here, before we continue, we are gonna brace this gear a little bit more, because this gets, when I run the drill, this gets constantly this basically constantly skips. So yeah, we can do just this. She's a skipper. There. No. No longer skipping. See, it cannot go there, and then it's braced on the other side. Okay. There. And now we attach the drill. My trusty little drill, of course. See where the binding gets just a little. That's good. Good. It runs. It runs pretty smooth. Okay. Very good. That's perfect. I see no problem. Nothing to worry about. There's no skipping, nothing. I mean, once we apply pressure from the ground, of course, with tires, we might get some skipping, and this is the issues that we need to address, of course. For this, of course, I need to buy tires, or we can use the other wheels, something like that. But we can test all of this. But of course, before we test the pressure of the tires on the suspension, we need to do the springs. And the springs, of course, are the subject of the next stream. So now that we are at the moment not gonna pursue the steering rack further. This is, basically solved. I think, how much is this? We have just, wait, what? No, we have 2 studs of movement in each direction. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. We'll see where we are going to place the rack itself. There's options. Probably it should be in here in front of this, so that we can have the steering axle from the servo going through here. Only issue is how do we attach the steering axis for the steering in the cockpit. We'll see. Maybe with gears, I would prefer it to be directly from the steering rack, because it's me. But we'll see. But I'm really, actually, pretty happy with the geometry here. I'm not sure about the angles, if they are Ackermann angles. That's a mystery to me from the way I see it, but they should be. The inner wheel actually should deflect more than the outer wheel, but it's hard to judge, especially if they are almost the same. Yeah, And we have, you know, we have a multi-link suspension in the at the bottom, which of course puts the steering axis somewhere here. So the pivot point on the rim is somewhere here, and on the tire it's a little further out still because of the angle of the kingpin, which is exactly what we want, you know. Otherwise, you see, oh come on, it's binding. Otherwise, you see the rims and the tires would they would travel a lot more, and they would have a lot more leverage on the whole system. But this is really nice. It goes so smooth. Yeah, I mean, the Ackerman effect is not really what I'm after. That's not that important. What is more important is that they are at least parallel, which I think they are. It would be kind of a bummer if the outer wheel would make a smaller circle than the inner wheel. That would suck. But I think we're good. I think we're good here. And the you know, the articulation. So basically come on, why am I forgetting those terms? The I don't know what's wrong with me today. Well, basically the height from fully extended to fully compressed suspension is actually quite a lot. It's a full 3 studs. We get a full 3 studs free movement if we wanted to, of course. Obviously, now that we have the basics done, there's tons of movement, tons of ways to improve it. Of course, the upper arm, of course, should be, just for, you know, for my comfort, should be braced a little better. This system here has to be somehow nicer. And I think, yeah, this is gonna be fine. And then the springs, of course, as we had it planned, are gonna be a pull rod suspension. So the springs are gonna be pulled by this link here and actuated by something here. How we're gonna do this, I don't know yet. Have to be a little careful with this. Because the system that we've chosen makes it, well, it's not made for exactly for the large angles, you see, that we are planning to do, because you quickly get to the top dead center, and then you're basically stuck, and we're not even at maximum extension of the suspension. That's the problem. So the arm here has to be longer. I'm just simulating now stuff, because once we put some load into this, it's gonna be even different. Yeah, this would be more, yeah, this would be more realistic. Yeah. Like this. Something like this, yeah. Ah, come on. Come on. Okay. Now, this has a chance of working. I would prefer this to be, of course, here, lower, to get clearance for the engine, for the gearbox. But we need to then construct this stuff here more careful. One option, of course, would be that we use this here somehow. But I have to, I mean, the problem is that this is easily way too big, and we cannot have it like this. Something, you know, something. I don't know. We have to think about it. Theoretically, we could redesign some things here so that we would omit this T-bone here entirely and create a different kind of bracing here. Then we would be able to have this here, like this. But I think it would still be too long. This is too long, probably. Even this is probably too long. So the grill of the car is already here somewhere. I don't know. I have to make some calculations. I actually didn't. I haven't bothered with calculating how those dimensions pan out. But you know, this would be ideal, because this would make for a very solid foundation for the spring mounts. Well, I think it's too big. And this is potentially, if we, yeah, this is too small basically. Or not. Basically, we could use two of those staggered like this here. That would work. But not with the spring mounts, because then we don't have anywhere to mount them here. So we would ideally have them mounted like this, but like this we cannot mount them because there's no mounting holes. So yeah, I know the Audi does have a larger overhang, but still, I don't know. Alfie the Sierra is basically done, yeah, but it's not complete. Let's call it like this. It's not complete. I need to order parts for it to complete it, and sort some minor things out. But naturally, we have already moved on to the Audi. The pressure was too big, you know. So yeah, I think the articulation here is pretty good. Pretty damn good. We have everything that we wanted. I cannot feel any bumps here. Wait. Come on, go to the center. I cannot feel it, but there is some. There is a very slight amount of bump steer, basically deflecting the wheel out. But this is not a huge problem. I mean, you know, we can live with this. So you see the maximum. Imagine this is the maximum lean the car has in the corner. Now, of course, we have to check with wheels and tires if the wheels are sitting flat on the surface when this happens. If not, we have to re-examine a little bit our suspension. Yeah, Ben, you have applied plenty of pressure here. Yeah, plenty of pressure. And of course, thing is here, just gonna connect the other one as well to show you this. So we need to connect this guy here, and this, and this, and this. And I need. No, I don't. I have it here. Okay. So, what you will notice here is that our spring mounts here, see, the springs are gonna connect to this somehow. I don't know how yet, but the spring mounts actually are at the same time an anti-roll bar. So we have, like in racing, we have the pull rod actuators connected with a bar, which actually acts as an anti-roll bar as well at the same time as supporting the springs. So we have both anti-roll bar and springs. Yeah. So the springs are next on the agenda. Yeah. That's the next thing. But of course, for the springs, as I said, we need to re-examine the frame structure here. We need to re-examine the frame structure here to see what to do, how to mount this. Since I don't have a Buies or Lego RC motor, I actually have no idea, you know, where it all fits and how much room I have for the springs, for the gearbox. The gearbox is gonna be here, very small. We're gonna have the motor bulge either here or here, depending on how we turn it. Doesn't matter. And the springs probably here underneath it. But we'll see. You know, we'll see. I have to make the calculations to see where, how long this has to be. And of course, I want to know where the A pillar is, which is going to determine where the firewall is going to be. And then we are going to move forward. This is, of course, getting heavier than I anticipated already. but it's, you know, it's jam packed with stuff. Next stream is gonna be on Monday because during the weekend I need to attend to real cars. So I need to basically start building the engine for the M42. That's gonna go into Ivan's E21. That's on the agenda. And a friend of mine is coming to my workshop to change his springs. So I'm gonna be wrenching over the weekends and no time for stream. So next stream is on Monday, on at the same time as usual. And I'm pretty sure that I mean, I'm gonna find the time to make the calculations here for this stuff, so that we can you know, start working on it. Yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I see you on Monday, and have a nice weekend.